Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Change. I have two 40% alcohol blended Scotch whiskies with no age statement. So here is WD Liquors blended Scotch whiskey. WD Winn-Dixie this company founded in 1955. Went through some ownership changes, and it was bought by Aldi. Winn-Dixie bought by Aldi in 2024. So this is a product that is actually owned by Aldi via Winn-Dixie stores. Now, which some people think is the reason, one of the big reasons Aldi purchased Winn-Dixie this year was to get in on having a liquor outlet in the United States, you see, because Winn-Dixie stores sell liquor in Louisiana right off the store shelf. Now, in places like Alabama and Florida, well, certainly Mississippi as well, they have to sell it through a licensed liquor store, which they solved that problem by having WD liquor stores in Florida, for example. Okay. I remember this product ever since I remember looking at whatever liquor people had on the table at a party, family reunion, or whatever. Now, I didn't examine it carefully. I wasn't 8 years old saying, "Oh, look, Winn-Dixie rum, Winn-Dixie vodka, WD Scotch," nothing like that. Just I remember these things being there. My father would have a parade party every winter time because one of the carnival parades passed in front of our house. So, and it was a lot of people there. I still have a lot of people going to that parade, the parade here. And it's actually a different crew now. But, well, he definitely wasn't going to go buy expensive stuff to put out there for people to guzzle. He wasn't going to buy expensive stuff for himself. He just wasn't that kind of person. So he would buy this, whatever, Okay, so there it is. Now, you might ask, how do you know Sazerac makes it? It says right here, Wide World Importers. Well, they don't make it because Sazerac owns no Scottish distilleries. Well, I know it because if you look carefully right there, which you can't see, I can barely see it, it's so tiny, it says Sazerac.com. So that's about the strongest evidence you'll ever see. Now, the price point, we're going to show you that in a moment on that. All right, now here is Johnnie Walker Black Label. Now, you might be saying, wait a minute, you always say you don't like these little 50 milliliter bottles. You want to get the 750 and you like to go through it and deal with it. It's true. I'll explain that. Oh, and this is made under a royal warrant for King Charles III. In other words, they apply for this designation, and they are listed as an official purveyor of whiskey for the royal family of Great Britain, head of the Commonwealth of Nations, Canada, India, South Africa, you know what I'm saying, Guyana, and so forth. Okay, but I was reading about that program actually on the official website, and they were saying that, I mean, this thing would focus. They were saying that you had to apply for it, and then there was this like quality control team that would examine the product, and they would, it's just not going to focus. They determine if it meets the quality standards of the program. Now, whether the royal family is actually drinking this, I couldn't tell you, but they have been known to, well, it's just not going to focus, known to be fond of alcohol. For example, Princess Margaret, a little bit too fine, some of them. But anyway, a lot of people like to drink. But anyway, I was reading the website after Queen Elizabeth died at 96 years old, 2 years ago, nearly 2 years ago. And they were saying, what happens now? Do we have to reapply? They say, yes, you will eventually, but I think you could go for 2 years after the decease of the Queen. But then you would have to reapply. Everybody would have to reapply for that. And I would assume Johnnie Walker would, because I think they got this royal designation like 1909, something like that, when they rebranded it. Now, this product, I didn't put the introduction date. I did put the introduction date 2010. Okay, never mind. I'm thinking of Johnnie Walker Black. This is Double Black. That came out in 1867, but it was called Old Highland Reserve. Johnnie Walker Old Highland Reserve, 12-year age. And then they totally rebranded their products with the what they call the striding man, the Johnnie Walker, get it, walking. And that's why they'll say 1909. That was the rebrand. But the product actually goes back to 1867. But this one goes back to only 2010. Okay, so only 14 years. They came out with Double Black. So we'll look at this. I will do a screen share now. You'll never see that with Winn-Dixie Scotch. WD Scotch is not going to bother to apply for a royal warrant. Okay, we know that. You know that. I know that. The American people know that. But there are other scotches that have that. What I think Dewar's is produced under a royal warrant. They have a similar program in Denmark. If you look at Carlsberg, they claim the world's greatest beer. Many would dispute that, including myself. But it's made under a royal, whatever they call it over there, royal warrant, or to use a different term, of the Danish royal family. Okay, so we get it. All right. And it was funny, not funny, but it was interesting. After Queen Elizabeth died, they were saying, I was reading the New Zealand website in New Zealand, and it was all these question and answer section for the Queen's death. Question: do I have to apply for a new passport? They were saying no, the passport is still valid, even though it says Queen, Her Majesty, just let it run out and then renew when it's over. And then they would say, do I have to take a new citizenship oath type of thing? And they were saying no, unless you work, but if you work for the government, like the police, you would have to do that. And they would let you, they say, we will send you an alert when that has to happen and all that kind of stuff. All right. Okay. But anyway, John Schmidt says, are bourbons only allowed to be made in Kentucky to be considered a bourbon? No, it's the United States. They typically come from Kentucky because it's such a big bourbon production. But any state, you could have bourbon from Hawaii. Don't know how well that would go over. But yeah, you can make bourbon in any state, U.S., but it has to be United States. You could cross the bridge from Detroit to Windsor, Canada, make the same exact product, and it cannot be bourbon. It would be bourbon style Canadian whiskey. I mean, it would be the same, but it would technically not be the same. No, I mean, it's all legalistic type, but it is a law. So, and it's like Scotch. You have to make it in Scotland. Could you make a whiskey that tastes like Scotch? Yeah, they do it in Japan all the time, but it's not Scotch, it's Japanese whiskey. In fact, Japan follows the Scotch style. Okay, but you could call it, well, you may not get away with it, but you could regard it as Scotch style whiskey, you see. Okay, but anyway, so that's the on that. Here it is, $16.99, boy. The price has dropped, you know, because when I bought it last year, that it was on sale for $17.99, but I think it was showing the regular price was like was $19.99, which still is cheap, you know. But for Scotch, but I said 17. Well, I went up to the counter. I said, what's the price? Because it's not. And they said, it didn't match when it rang up. Oh, they went look at the tag. Oh, yeah. Okay. So they corrected it. But anyway, now it's $16.99. And that's across the board, any Winn-Dixie store in the states, which means only 4 states: Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida. Okay. But there it is. Only at Winn-Dixie, an exclusive product. Well, obviously. All right. And it's got this little thing up on the bottle neck, wax. It says quality guaranteed. Drinks it and brings it back and said they don't like the taste. I think it means like if it was rancid or something, they would, but you know, I mean, I don't like the flavor. Okay. I kind of like the flavor. And they would say, well, that's not the quality. It's just, you don't like it. I mean, the store manager is going to say, you know, you just drink it. Don't buy it anymore. They're not going to refund. I seriously doubt it. And I would never do that anyway. I have to deal with it, you know? Okay. Here's the Double Black. Now they created, said, as a younger version, a younger, like wilder version, and version than the black. And I cannot comment on the black because I've truly never had, I've never even tried it from someone else. I plan to buy it, but I've just never experienced the bold and brooding intensity of Johnnie Walker Double, the embodiment of rebellion in the world of whiskey. Handpicked from the west of Scotland. Okay. This blend features naturally smoky, should have a hyphen there. Naturally smoky, should be naturally hyphen smoky, but don't worry about grammar too much. And but that's okay. But we get the meaning, but that is how it should do it. Whiskies aged in charred barrels to deliver full-bodied taste that's second to none. So they're using charred barrels. Scotch whiskey using used barrels that doesn't have much char, or if any, left. Delicious sweet smoke and spicy aromas. I will agree with that. With dried fruits and creamy vanilla. And I don't know about all of that. I'll go with powerful, long, warming finish. Maybe. The electric energy of a bunch of all this marketing stuff. It's so comical in a way. Walker, the world's best-selling Scotch whiskey. There's no doubt about that. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. Okay, whether you like it or not, I'm sorry, but that's the only Scotch whiskey in the world. All right. Budweiser is the #1 selling beer in the world, whether you like it or not. I'm sorry, that it's not the #1 in America. It's about #4 in America, but or it might have dropped to 5. But in the world, it's #1. Now, the Chinese tried to say that snow beer was #1, but they were very deceptive. You say the Chinese government being deceptive can't be true. You see, but what they did was they took every snow beer that they made, because there's like 20 different versions, and they counted it as a brand. And it says, see, it exceeds Budweiser. Well, yeah, okay, but what if you take Budweiser, Bud Light, Bud Ice, Bud Select 55, Bud Light Platinum, and all of these? And there's a bunch of variants in China of Budweiser, like called like something degree Plato Budweiser, and count those. Yeah, take all that and count that as a brand. See what I mean? It's a joke. And people did not read the article carefully, and they just ran with it. But some people pointed it out. You see, now other people that were more discerning, they say, hold on. Wait a minute. And when they say Johnnie Walker is the #1 selling Scotch, they're not counting every Johnnie Walker product. They count Johnnie Walker Red Label. That's what they're counting. Johnnie Walker Red Label is the #1 Scotch whiskey by itself. If another country were to make a bourbon in the exact same way, what would they have to call it? A bourbon style? They might get away with calling it bourbon style, but you see, Crown Royal tried that, and the U.S. government accepted it, and then the bourbon companies put pressure on them, and then they changed their mind and said, oh, no, you can't call it that. It was Crown Royal, and I'm letting the natural light come in from outside. That's why I don't have the lamps on. That's the whole Dawn Busters point. You see, we start in the dark, and then it becomes daylight. They had Crown Royal Bourbon Mash. They made it exactly like a bourbon, except that it was in Canada. So they called it Bourbon Mash. They didn't call it bourbon. And the government said, oh, yeah, that's fine because you're not calling it bourbon. And then the bourbon companies were like, oh, no. And they got a lot of influence. So they said, oh, yeah, you can't call it that. So they changed the name to Blender's Mash. And then that kind of wrecked the whole brand. And then they just abandoned it. And they got rid of it about a year ago. It's a retired brand now. I thought it was really great. Now it's the problem. You see, it could rival a lot of American bourbons. You see, that's what they were worried about. Look, these companies, they like regulation because it helps stifle competition, okay? You have 1,000,001 regulations, then the little mom and pop places can't get off the ground because it costs a fortune to comply with the regulations. They don't have a fortune, so therefore they don't get off the ground, and then you have these big, huge liquor companies that don't have to worry about competition except amongst themselves, and you almost start to get the impression that they're working together in a collusion, which is illegal, but this would be very difficult to prove that. Because if you ever notice in Louisiana, I can tell you that, for instance. Yes, it is interesting, John. If you ever notice in Louisiana, I'm talking about because I live here, they'll have sales, right, on liquor, but it'll always be one and then another. Like they'll have Sazerac rye on sale at, say, Bromart, but won't anybody else have it on sale? The next week it'll be on sale at Rouse's, but nobody else has it on sale. And then the next week it'll be at the maybe Roger or Robert's. And I'm thinking, there's no way that could happen for years in a pattern like that without some kind of backdoor secret negotiation to make sure they don't compete with each other. And it's sort of like these big whiskey companies seem like they roll out new products in a pattern. It's like, well, you make this one and then I'll make it, and then like they'll come out with their vanilla, but then they won't both come out with the vanilla flavored at the same time. Then they'll be, oh, now they got this one vanilla, and then the next one vanilla. I say it's funny how they never come out at the same time. You said, well, they're just copying off of each other. It could be, but you telling me in all of these years they just didn't come out with one at the same time with all these flavors they're coming out with all the time? It would have to happen at least once. Like both of them come out with blackberry at the same time, but nope, never happens. Cinnamon, yeah. Fireball, then Jack Daniel's Tennessee Fire, then the Jim Beam, whatever their cinnamon is called, and it's the same story. Okay, and you see the same thing in the meat world. Meat, Armour, Swift, and Hormel. Armour, Swift, Hormel. It's like you can make a nursery rhyme with that. Armour, Swift, Hormel. Armour, Swift, Hormel. Armour, Swift, Hormel. Or I should say alphabetically, right? Armour, Hormel, Swift. AHS. Armour. That's harder to say. Hormel, Swift. Now those companies, they were the big, loud companies screaming about the Meat Inspection Act of 1906. No, we can't have this. This is communism. This is socialism. We can't have a Meat Inspection Act. We don't want this. And so all the people that are socialist, progressive minded were like, see, those big companies don't want it. We're going to stick it to them. We'll show them. So then they had the Meat Inspection Act with these like list of 5,000 regulations. Now, there used to be mom and pop meat companies all over the United States. Like literally slaughterhouses and meat packing plants all over the country. But they couldn't comply with the regulations. So one by one, they were going, or got bought out. You say, well, they still make Underwood canned potted meat up there from Boston area. Yeah, they make it all right, but see if it's independent owned. Check and see who owns it. See if it's independent. So it's like the story of Brer Rabbit. You know, don't throw me in that briar patch. Oh Lord, please don't throw me in that briar patch. And they say that stupid rabbit, and they throw him in the briar patch. He's like, so long, suckers. You know, so long, fool. All right, now Armour, Hormel, and Swift didn't want the act, but here they are. They're still around. Bigger than ever. They got the money and the lawyers to comply with the regulations. So think. Sometimes you got to think it out. I shouldn't have mixed these yet because if you notice, the Johnnie Walker is very dark. Could that be coming from the charred oak? Well, yes, very likely so. They said they aged it in charred oak. How do they char oak? It's easy. I watched the video at Jack Daniel's when they would, because they said we're not doing it today. They said sometimes they'll be out here doing it and you can watch them, but they said we already have enough barrels. So I think on the tour they said they did it yesterday, but come on, focus, man. This camera is really aggravating. I know when that's too close to a camera, it confuses it, but that's amber, and this is look how pale that Winn-Dixie is, WD. I don't even think they wanted to spend the extra penny to add the colorant. They're like, ain't nobody gonna notice. Nobody's gonna care if it's light, dark, medium. They're gonna buy because it's $16.99. You get it. So yeah. Whatever I was saying, they don't like competition. But I'm more of a free this channel really is more of a free enterprise channel. You've probably noticed that over the years. It's a free enterprise channel. We promote free enterprise. So you would notice that I would be talking about promoting less regulation, not more. Not more. Okay. This smells like basic stuff. Fermented cereal grains, then distilled, blended, and I don't know. It's got some weird caramel thing, like a Riesling, I was saying, or a Werther's Original. It's not a bad aroma per se, but it's, I don't know, man. I'm picking up a little bit of that compost pile peatiness type of situation that you'll get in many of these scotch. I think that's why a lot of people don't like it, because it's like, yeah, I don't really want to drink something that smells like a compost pile. I get that. Oh yeah, the burning the barrels. They showed us a video. They squirt whiskey in the barrel, like maybe Jack Daniels that didn't come out right. They don't want to dump it out. It would just be barrel strength, you know. They didn't dilute it with water. That's how they get it down to 40% alcohol, by the way. They just add water to it. It's like making light beer. You take Budweiser, you add water to it, and you got Bud Light. Ding, ding. Okay, they squirt the whiskey all inside the barrel, and then they throw in a match. I was watching a video. Just throw in a match. It's going to burn all the way up. Just throw it. Boom. And they let it burn however long they want to let it burn. They have four general barrel char levels. Number 1, which is light. 2, moderate. 3, dark moderate. And then 4 is alligator char. It gets so charred, it's like the back of an alligator. All rumple, you know, when you see the embers glowing. So they really want it deep and a lot of charcoal flavor. Depending on what type of whiskey they want to make. Is there a regulation against that? No. I've never read anything. Certainly not. If you read the bourbon regulations for bourbon, obviously, all they say is it has to be charred oak. That's it. They usually use white oak. Preferred, they can use any oak. May not taste right. Doesn't say the char level. It just says it has to be a new barrel, meaning never before used, and it has to be charred. Beyond that, that's up to you. Okay, so that's not the greatest aroma. Let's go over here. That's funky sweet too, though. That's even more funky sweet. So the aroma, I'm not sure. I'll be honest with you. On aroma, I'm not detecting much difference. But that's not what this is. This is a Dawn Buster's taste challenge. It's not a Dawn Buster's aroma challenge. And that you got to watch out about that. Now, some of them are so different that you never confuse them. But these aren't. But on the taste style, we'll get them right. But let's check Total Wine right now. What are they selling Johnnie Walker Double Black for? I can tell you what I paid for it. It's an incredible price. That's why I bought the little bottles. Usually, the little bottles are a bad value. They'd be way more expensive per ounce. Yep, $44.99. The price has not changed in 2 years. So inflation has not affected this price. It was $44.99 when I bought it 3 years ago, and it's still $44.99. Well, what do you know about that? And what did I pay? I think I paid that. 2 times 15. Oh no, I paid $37.35. I saved a lot of money. So when I bought those 15 little bottles, because 15 of these make one regular bottle, Golly gee. And that's 25.4 ounces, by the way. Talking about the regular bottle, 25.4 ounces. So this is 1/15 of that. 1/15. It added up to just over $37. That was a strange thing to see a store sell it so cheap. I didn't ask. I just went in there and I told the girl, give me every bottle you got. She said, okay. Bought every bottle of the Double Black, and I went and I bought every bottle of the Gold Label Reserve. Now, did the price stay low? Certainly not. If you buy it now, you're going to lose money per ounce. But I gained, so that's why I did it. Do they char the inside of the oak barrels before they add the liquor? Yes, that's correct. They set it on fire. When it's ready to go, I don't know how long it takes to get ready after they burn it, but then in goes the liquor. Mr. Peanut says, hi. Hello, Mr. Peanut. I admire your work with all of your planters. Nuts, very, very tasty. A little bit expensive, but okay. Now, you're paying for the name. Taste time, cheers. Not gonna say anything yet. I'm just gonna say, Now let's go over here. Oh yeah, yeah. All right. This is the Double Black. Y'all can see it's darker. How do I know that on one sip? Because this says smoke. And you can tell it's well made. You say, but that's a big corporation company. They mass produce all that stuff in a factory. It's not handmade, it's factory made. I know that. But it's well made in a factory, in my opinion. It's smooth. Man, this thing is smooth. No sharp edges, no bite back. It's just like copacetic. It's got smokiness, but it's not really that smoky, honestly. If you drink it, you're not going to be like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed by smoke, I can't deal with it. It's nothing like that. It just has a smoky character, okay? Now this thing. That's an A. I mean, that whiskey's in the A range. I mean, it's most excellent. I wouldn't go below 93 on that. I mean, I could drink that every day. I wouldn't get tired of it. I'd never get tired. I would never get tired of the Gold Label Reserve. But then again, I'd never get tired of the Red Label. I'm just going to put that out there. Oh, man. Mr. Peanut smiling. Oh, man, this thing here. This is not good. If you stop me and say, hey, is Winn-Dixie Scotch good? I'd say, or if you said, hey, is Winn-Dixie WD Scotch any good? I'd say, no, it's not any good at all. There ain't nothing good about it except the price. The price is good, but what have you gotten? An unpleasant experience? Yeah, kind of tolerable. It is not as bad as when I first tried it on a solo review. That thing was just, I couldn't get past that. That video lasted so long, I just couldn't get over it. I was shocked that somebody would put this on a shelf. But there it is, right there at the Winn-Dixie, selling like mad. People buying it all the time, which makes you wonder, But it's not good. It would never make the B. It'll never get to a B level, which would be 80 to 89. B minus, sort of good. Solid B, just a good product, man. That stuff's good. And a B plus, very good. 88, 89, man. That stuff's very good. This is a very good whiskey. You would never say that about this. You'd either say it's bad, straight up, this stuff is bad. That's a D. That's a D. That's bad. It needs a lot of work. And if it got dumped out, you wouldn't really mind. But you could drink it. You could drink it. You could drink it. That's what bad. But this is not definitively bad. I can't say it's bad per se. But it should not be tasting like caramel and a Werther's Original. All right, which I like those things. Man, Sazerac can put out some whack stuff. They do good work, and they can put out some really questionable stuff. I might go buy another bottle of Hartley brandy. They don't even sell Winn-Dixie brandy, WD brandy, because I guess they figure, well, we got a sloppy enough product as it is called Hartley. Yes, that's true. Hartley is not so bad though. It ain't so good either, but it's strange. It's questionable to say the least. But it sells. I don't know. It sells. They got a special right now, $8.99 for a bottle. I think I could go and get the $8.99. It's a VSOP. So that's age, theoretically 4 to 6 years. But that's not a law. That's not a law. It's a tradition or a convention, but it's not a law. Usually VS is like 2 to 4 years. 2 to 4 years. VSOP 4 to 6 years, and then XO 6 to 10 years. That's what the good companies do. They follow that. The slipshod companies, I mean, look at Paul Masson brandy. They're talking about, oh yeah. Or is it, or am I thinking of E&J? It's one of those two, and I was looking at their website. This one's aged 2 years. And then it was the next level, VSOP. This one's aged at least 2 years. And then it was the third level, XO. This one's aged at least 2 years. I'm like, well, what am I paying for? What's up with the 6 to 10 years? What happened to that? So you say, but that's why they're all under $20. That's, yeah, well, you have a point there. But man, this Winn-Dixie, I'm going to give it one more sip and I'm going to score it and I'm getting out of here. Well, if you want that in your life, go ahead. I don't. Unfortunately, I have this much left. I'll give it a 72. Still a C-, which means low average. It's almost impossible to find a C- Scotch in a liquor store. I don't care what the price is. Just go in a liquor store blind, like you're blindfolded, and you just grab one. You're not going to find a C-. Might find a B-. That's not even too likely. And you got to reach low. I mean, reach to the bottom shelf, because if you reach at the top shelf, not going to be no C-. Now, but so to find a Scotch whiskey, a blended Scotch whiskey that scores a C-, that is exceptional. So I guess they're right. It is unique in a sense of it's so inferior that it's beyond the pale of what you would ever dream of. It's certainly the worst Scotch whiskey I ever tried. Of course, I haven't had that many, but I've had a good amount. Have I ever drunk? Have I ever drank? Have drunk. Past participle. Have I ever drunk fortified wine? Yes, many times. John Schmidt, many times. They're pretty good. Not my favorite, but they're all right. Harvey's Bristol Cream is my favorite in that ilk. I love that stuff. Ooh-wee. Okay, anyway. We drank too much of that port wine. It's from Portugal too, that port wine. One time, I felt sick. Man, I felt sick. Too much sugar, too much richness, too much everything. And it was just like, oh man. The next day I was feeling bad. I said, never again, baby. This glass is too big for port wine. This glass is too big for port wine. That's why they're that big. They're like a thimble. I have some of those sherry glasses, sherry, port, Marsala. They're small, and there's a reason for that. That's what your daily allowance should be on that stuff. And I do not know how these people could survive drinking all of that Taylor port. Remember about 4 years ago, I guess it was, when that was like the big thing, or 3 years ago, everybody wanted to buy Taylor port. And they would do these videos where they were drinking like the whole glass, pour a whole glass. And I said, I said, I bet there won't be too many repeats. And I said, this trend is going to die out fast because there are going to be so many people getting sick off of it, they'll never go back to it. And it died like overnight. The trend was gone. The fad was gone. And now Taylor Port is right down there on the store shelves at the same old previous price of cheap, 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 because the price went way up when it was a hot item. I said, I knew it was going to happen. And then they came out with Taylor Port Black, the black edition, the 20% alcohol. I said, man, if somebody drinks too much of this, they're going to really be in danger. So it was, pretty good. But, that is like trouble. Okay, anyway, thank you. And y'all take care. And that's it. I'm out of here. The obvious winner is Johnnie Walker Black Label. Double Black. And this was a taste challenge and name only. Was no. I don't think. Look, tell you the truth. When you see this, you might want to skip it because I got a lot more taste challenges to do with the WD blended Scotch, and they're going to all be a fiasco. So if you skip it, I will not take offense because I understand. But I got to go through it. I always go through the whole. Always for good or ill, and in this case, definitely for ill. All right, well, it is what it is. I bought it. No one forced me to buy it, and now I got to deal with it. All right, y'all take care now. Bye-bye.